Equal's eyes stood outside the Briarwood High School gymnasium, the sharp scent of sweat and varnished wood clinging to the air, mingling with the faint smell of popcorn from the concession stand. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows against the brick walls, creating a sense of foreboding that I could almost touch. I shuffled my feet against the cracked pavement, the warmth of the day fading into the coolness of early evening. The tinny sound of music pulsed out from inside, mixed with the shouts and laughter of students who were blissfully unaware of the sharp edges of reality that loomed just behind the laughter. "Hey, Maya, you coming in?" My friend Clara's voice sliced through the din. She bounced toward me, her brown curls dancing around her shoulders, an infectious energy radiating from her like the glow of a lantern in the dusk. "The game is about to start." "Whole school is here?" I forced a smile, even though my stomach was tied in knots. "Yeah, I will, just give me a second." I took a deep breath, trying to calm the tempest in my chest. Everyone was excited, but I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, looking down into an abyss I didn't want to jump into. Clara's infectious enthusiasm was like a feather against the weight pressing down on my shoulders. "What's wrong?" she asked, tilting her head slightly. "You look like you just saw a ghost." "Just thinking about the game," I replied, not entirely sure if I was lying or just sidestepping the truth. "Thinking about the game, or thinking about him?" She nudged me playfully, a knowing smile on her face. I rolled my eyes, even though the mention of Jacob's name sent a shiver down my spine. Jacob, it was always Jacob. The attractive, charming senior who seemed to have woven himself into the very fabric of my life and then ripped it to shreds in front of everyone. "You could say I'm trying to focus on my team, not the jerk who thinks he can play me like a fool." Clara's expression shifted to one of empathy. "You can't let what he did get to you, you know that, right? You are so much better than him." "Better?" I laughed, but it felt hollow in my throat. "He made a fool out of me in front of everyone at the last dance. I was just trying to enjoy myself and he turns it into a public spectacle." "I know," she said, her brow furrowing. "But you know what you need to do, right? You need to show everyone that you are stronger than this. You need to take back control." "Control? What do you mean?" I asked, my heart racing. Clara stepped closer, lowering her voice conspiratorially. "I mean, show him that you are unbothered. Look at everyone around us." She gestured toward the throng of students milling around the entrance. "There's a whirlwind of attention on the game, and you can take that and turn it upside down on him." I considered her words, watching the way the gym doors swung open and shut, letting out gusts of laughter and excitement. Inside was a world where Jacob could still toss his golden hair and wink, where he could charm the crowds and make the guys laugh while the girls would swoon. How could I compete with that? But how? Clara beamed, her eyes sparkling with an idea. "You need to come up with a plan, something that turns the tables on him, something that he won't see coming." "Are you in?" I bit my lip, feeling the thrill of the unexpected creep through me like a warm breeze. "A plan, huh?" "Exactly," she said, her voice ringing with authority. "We are not going to let him keep control over your thoughts or feelings. You are going to rise above him." "All right, I'm in," I said, surprising myself. The fear and humiliation that had creased my heart was suddenly becoming something else, something that felt like raw energy, waiting to explode. I took a step inside the gym, the electrifying pulse of the crowd seizing my senses. I could hear the sound of sneakers squeaking against the polished floor, the whistle of the referee cutting through the chatter, and the distant thud of basketballs meeting hardwood. We made our way toward the bleachers, squeezing past clusters of students, each laughing, shouting, and cheering like the world was a mighty battleground. My heart raced as I spotted Jacob on the court, his flawless smile radiating confidence as he shot a ball from the three-point line, the crowd erupting in applause when it swished through the net. "Look at him," I said, a mix of bitterness and admiration coating my words. "He thinks he's a god. It makes me sick." Clara crossed her arms, her expression unyielding. "Remember what I said. You have to show him you are above all that. You own your worth, Maya. Let him think he is the sun, but you light up the night." "But how do I start?" I asked, the weight of uncertainty heavy upon me. Her smile returned, radiant and fierce. "Let's play some games of our own. We are going to join a club or do something exciting, and I promise he will notice. Just stick to me, and anything he does will seem less impressive." "I guess it is worth a shot," I murmured, feeling that flicker of rebellion light up inside of me. I watched as Jacob high-fived his teammates, laughter rolling off of him like waves crashing against the shore. It was infuriating and mesmerizing. "See?" Clara pointed. "You don't need to focus on him. Focus on your own life. Let's make it spectacular." As the game started, I engaged in casual small talk and cheered enthusiastically for our team, even catching glimpses of Jacob here and there. His laughter echoed in my ears, but I was starting to feel a new kind of warmth inside me, one that wasn't dependent on him. I watched the game unfold, my heart racing with adrenaline, cheering loudly every time our team scored. The minutes slipped by like grains of sand, and the halftime buzzer blared, cutting through the fog of suspense. Clara turned to me, her eyebrows raised with excitement. So, what is our next move? I glanced around, my thoughts racing. We need something daring, a moment that shocks everyone. I felt emboldened by the idea, the whispers of my wrath against Jacob giving me strength. Like, Clara leaned in closer, her eyes wide with possibilities. Like getting involved in something big, we can join the cheer squad. Everyone knows them and we can show off all our skills. I grinned, the idea settling in like a warm campfire on a cool night. Cheer squad? Clara echoed, leaning back and pretending to think. That's a bold move. But what if we can't keep up with the routines? Trust me, I said, feeling the anticipation bubbling inside me. We can do it, and once we get on that squad, Jacob will have to notice us. Okay, let's do this, Clara practically squealed, clapping her hands in delight. We break into that cheer squad and we become the stars. By the end of the night, I was bubbling over with excitement. We had even talked to the cheer captain, an upperclassman named Jesse who was surprisingly approachable. As Clara and I left the gym, the sweet scent of popcorn mingling with the cold air, I felt like we were on the brink of something thrilling. Imagine Maya, Clara exclaimed, her hands waving in the chill as we walked down the street toward her place. With you on the squad, he won't know what hit him. We are going to own that gym, and Jacob will be the one left speechless. I can't wait, I replied, the adrenaline still surging through my veins. The laughter of my classmates felt distant now, a mere backdrop to my rising determination, as if I was shedding the skin of the girl who let Jacob define her worth. But as the darkness crept in and the stars began to twinkle overhead, a different audience filled my thoughts, imaginings of revenge twirling like leaves caught in the wind. I knew that I wanted Jacob to feel what I felt, that blast of embarrassment, the sting of betrayal. My heart thrummed with the kind of joy that felt like a promise, the weight of laughter mingling with the electric thrill of deception, and I was ready to rise again, shifting the tides of the game. This was just the beginning and the overture to a storm that was shaping to come. I could already taste the sweet victory as it danced on the tip of my tongue, waiting for the moment to unfold. Plan might be laid out, but the biggest twist was yet to come. I was so lost in my thoughts, imagining what revenge would look like, that I almost didn't hear the soft knock at my bedroom door. It was odd, hearing a knock so delicate and hesitant. My heart raced for a moment, both from the thrill of planning my next moves against the girls who had humiliated me, and the sudden reminder that I was not alone. Maya, my younger brother's voice leaked through the door. Can I come in? I brought snacks. I took a deep breath, shaking off the dark fantasy I'd been weaving about my enemies, and called out, Yeah, come in. The door creaked open, revealing Liam's wide grin. He stood there, clutching a faded blue plate piled high with freshly popped popcorn, the kind of salty, buttery goodness only a microwave could create. He was only 12, and sometimes the innocent chaos of his presence grounded me in a way I desperately needed. Popcorn? I exclaimed, perking up a little. I should have known you'd come up with the best way to cheer me up. I gestured for him to plop down on the edge of my bed, which he did, almost bouncing with excitement. I took a handful of popcorn and tossed a few kernels in my mouth, savoring the buttery taste. Did you hear that Jennifer and her crew are throwing a party this weekend? Liam asked, his eyes sparkling. He had no idea how much that name stung like a brick against my heart. Jennifer, the leader of the pack that had pushed me to the ground and laughed while I cried, was now planning social events that I had been excluded from. Yeah, I heard, I mumbled, chewing a little slower, trying to mask the bitterness in my tone. I could feel my heart rate quicken at the thought of seeing her flaunt her perfect little life while I wallowed in my despair. But hiding my feelings from Liam felt wrong. You know, sometimes it's hard to let those things go. Liam tilted his head, confusion knitting his brows together. Why, it's just a party. I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of my anger. It's not just a party, Liam. Jennifer and I used to be friends, now she acts like I don't even exist. I could feel my cheeks flush, warming with embarrassment. I didn't want to unload my anger onto Liam, but it was spilling out like an unwanted fountain. And she's not just a friend. She's the kind of person who steps all over others to get what she wants. It's unfair. His innocent blue eyes widened. But you're cooler than her. You have better taste in books and movies? Liam tossed a few popcorn pieces into his mouth. Seriously, if she was better, why would you even have bothered with her anyway? I couldn't help but smile at his admiration. Thanks, kiddo, but it's not about that. It's more about how people treat each other. You can't just throw someone away when they don't fit into your perfect little picture anymore. His brow furrowed deeper as though he were processing this heavy truth. So what are you going to do about it? That question hung in the air, each word heavy with implications. I could feel a plan starting to take form in my mind, a whirlwind of ideas. Well, sometimes people don't realize the pain they cause until they are reminded of it, I replied carefully, feeling the stirring of purpose within me. I need to show her what it feels like to be on the other side. Liam's face lit up, though he seemed to hold back a glimmer of concern. Like what pranks? I considered, my heart racing at the thought of pulling off something spectacular. Maybe I just need to confront her, show her that I am not going to stay down while she walks all over me. Are you gonna talk to her? He bounced on the bed, excited but still cautious. I nodded, already mapping out potential strategies in my head. Yes, here's what I'm thinking. I need to gather my confidence. I can start with the party she's throwing. I'll show up and act like everything is super chill, but I will show her that I am moving on. Liam gave me a thumbs up. That sounds awesome. You can totally do this. He seemed genuinely invested in my resolve, and it made me feel a little more courageous. But maybe not just yet, I said aloud, my excitement waning a bit. I need to plan carefully. I want to be ready when I confront her. I need to make sure it really hits her. Liam, munching away, looked thoughtful. What else can we do? Can we do research on her, find her weaknesses? Kind of, but I really want to focus on how she hurt me and then flip it around, you know? Make her feel what I felt. There is power in that. I lifted a piece of popcorn to my mouth but hesitated, feeling the tiny kernels of doubt in the pit of my stomach. Would this really work? If I did this, what would that make me? A bully in my own right? But then I remembered the laughter that followed me down those halls, and I hardened. But how are you going to do that if you won't even talk to her? Liam pressed. I exhaled slowly, weighing the options. Maybe I need to get some support. You know, people who can have my back. If I create a solid plan with friends who believe in me, I can approach her strategically. Yeah, he practically shouted, his enthusiasm contagious. We could ask Kara and Jasmine. They are super chill, plus they hate Jennifer too. They will totally want to help you. That thought made my heart jump, a flicker of adrenaline racing through my veins. You're right. All I need is a strategy and a team who understands what I've gone through. I can gather some intel and figure out how to get into her circle without her suspecting anything. I'll need them to help me put on that brave face. I smiled at Liam, feeling a web of plans start stitching together in my mind. Thanks for talking to me about it. It actually helps. Just don't forget about popcorn. If you blow her away, I need a front row seat. He grinned, scattering popcorn around the duvet cover. Deal, I laughed, knowing that no matter how chaotic things became, I had my little brother as a source of strength. I would need every bit of it when facing Jennifer again. But as I continued to pace the room with ideas churning inside me, an unsettling realization struck. How bold was I willing to be? Would I completely lose sight of my true self if I followed through with my plans? I wanted her to understand the consequences of her actions, to feel the pain she made me suffer. But another little voice whispered caution, reminding me that revenge could easily spiral into something darker than even I intended. The sun hung low outside my window, painting my room in a warm glow and casting deep shadows where the light couldn't reach. The golden hour felt like the perfect time to reflect on the days leading up to the party, the way I could manipulate the situation into something unforgettable. Okay, Liam, let's figure out how we can catch up with Kara and Jasmine after school tomorrow. I'll need something that feels eye-catching for the party. A dress, you could pull off something crazy, like a whole costume. He exclaimed, leaning forward as if he were sharing a secret that might explode with creativity. The idea wrapped around my mind. Something that shows how fun I can be, it might even shock Jennifer. I want her to think I don't care about her opinions anymore. Like a ninja, he shouted, bouncing excitedly on my bed. Or a cool superhero, like Wonder Woman? I chuckled at the thought, but in my mind, the seeds were sprouting. I could find something bold that contrasts with the way she expects me to dress. I just need to really make a statement. As we threw ideas back and forth, what began as simple popcorn chatter transformed into a master plan, woven with layers of casual banter that disguised the tension below. With every word exchanged, I felt the spent energy of the past begin to shift, sliding from frustration to determination. The combination of my brother's innocent enthusiasm and my simmering desire for resolve created a cocktail of courage I had never realized I possessed. Thinking about Kara and Jasmine, the way they'd rallied around me during the worst of it, ignited my spirit, and I trusted their support would be pivotal. The clock ticked away as I jotted down traits we adored about these girls we admired, knowing our choices would play an important role in my intention to walk into the lion's den and confront my torment. As Liam dealt me another handful of buttery goodness, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was at the edge of something monumental. The breakthrough I sought felt closer than ever. What once was hopelessness now felt like an empowering vendetta, fueled by camaraderie. It was my story to tell. Tomorrow's going to be our planning day, right? He asked, his laughter ringing like music. Absolutely, buddy, I replied, feeling a smile spread across my face, the edges curl with excitement. And who knows? This might turn into the most epic adventure we've ever had. The day faded to twilight as we snacked and plotted, and as I let the glow of possibilities wash over me, I realized something I hadn't dared to believe before. I was going to take back my life, and for better or worse, I was ready to show Jennifer and the girls that I would no longer be the quiet girl who faded into the background. This was my moment, and I was going to seize it. I sat at the dinner table, the worn oak surface polished to a shine that reflected my anxious face in the flickering candlelight. The smell of roasted chicken filled the air, mixing with the scent of the buttery mashed potatoes my mother had made, the blend creating a warm but suffocating atmosphere around me. My heart raced. It was time to confront the source of my pain, the source of my revenge plan that I had carefully crafted in the weeks following my ruin. My father sat at the head of the table, his sharp, angular features softened by the golden glow of the candlelight as he carved into the chicken. I could hear the metal knife gliding through the meat, each slice sending tremors of discomfort through my body. My mother, with her gentle smile and kind eyes, served everyone without noticing the storm brewing within me. Maya, would you like some more potatoes? She asked, her voice sweet like honey, trying to dissolve the tension that I realized must have been painfully obvious. I looked up at her, forcing a strained smile while my mind raced, remembering every detail of what they did. No thanks, Mom, I'm good, I replied, attempting to sound casual, but my voice trembled ever so slightly. As I pushed my plate away, my mother frowned but said nothing. My younger brother Alex, barely old enough to understand the heaviness in the air, laughed at something funny he'd seen on his phone, a stark contrast to the tightness squeezing my chest. What's so funny? I snapped, my voice sharper than I intended. Alex looked at me, his blue eyes wide with confusion. It's just a meme, Maya, chill out. Typical, he didn't understand. They never did. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. Dad, I said, my voice barely above a whisper at first. He looked up, his brow furrowing slightly. Yes, honey. Can I ask you something? I felt my palms grow clammy as I fidgeted with the napkin that was placed neatly on my lap. Of course, what's on your mind? He replied, the slight hint of concern contrasting the way I had felt for weeks now. It's about Brianna, I said, forcing myself to lock my gaze onto his. The atmosphere shifted, the air thickening with apprehension. My mother paused mid-chew, her attention now solely focused on me. What about her? My father asked, keeping his tone calm but his eyes betraying a flicker of confusion. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks, the weight of the words ready to tumble out of my mouth like an avalanche. You know what she did to me. How you both just accepted it, I spat, the anger that had been simmering beneath the surface finally bubbling over into my words. Maya, Brianna made a mistake. Kids do stupid things, my mother rushed in, her voice laced with the protective instinct of a parent wanting to shield me. A mistake throwing me out of that party, turning everyone against me, that's not a mistake, that's a betrayal. I felt the tears pricking at my eyes but quickly blinked them away. I'm sorry, honey, my father said, the remorse in his voice making me question the sincerity of their understanding. But sometimes we have to let things go. Life is about moving on. Moving on. Words tumbled from my lips like knives. Is that all that matters, just letting people walk all over you? The tension at the table had thickened to an almost unbearable point. I could hear my brother munching on his food, blissfully unaware, while the silence hung like a heavy curtain over us. Maya, this is not the time to bring up old grudges, my father said firmly, placing his fork down with a clank. It's not old, this is my life. This is not just a grudge. This is being hurt. This is me. I burst out, the resentment that had been bottled inside pressed hard against my ribcage. I felt like a ghost in my own life, Dad. I looked at my mother, who was biting her lip, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. And you two didn't even care to see what was happening to me. You let it happen. My mother shook her head slowly. Maya, we thought you were coping. We were trying to. To what? To ignore me? To let Brianna bully me and not even step in? I could feel my voice rising again, feeling fierce and raw, letting the emotions spill over like an untamed river. You don't get it, no one does. You have no idea how it feels to be hurt like that. There was silence again, just the sound of silverware scraping dishes as my parents exchanged glances, perhaps searching for the right words. This was it, the moment I had waited for, the confrontation I had fantasized about. But the reality felt bruising, a brawl rather than a battle, and I knew that in my heart of hearts it was not only Brianna I wanted to confront. It was them, my parents, the ones who had always been my defenders, but who felt at that moment like the judges of my existence. Maya, we love you. We know you are hurting, but you need to let this go, my father said after a long pause, his voice a mix of authority and despair. You can't keep fighting against people. You need to learn forgiveness. Forgiveness? I scoffed, laughter escaping my lips that held no humor, just disbelief. You want me to forgive Brianna after everything? My heart pounded so loudly I could almost hear it drumming against my ribs. Forgiveness is for the strong, not the weak, I retorted, the embers of my determination catching fire. If you think forgiving her will change what happened, then you're wrong. This lasts forever. It shadows me every day. You don't understand. Holding on to that anger will only hurt you. My mother breathed, her eyes narrowing slightly, a subtle shift reflecting in her posture as she leaned forward, though I could tell she was nervous. I shoved my chair back abruptly, the sound a sharp protest against the wooden floor. How can you say that? Do you even know what she did? I felt the fury rise within me like a wave crashing violently against the shore. Do you even care to ask how I survived? Or do you just want me to brush it off like it never happened? Maya, my father warned, his tone thickening, this is a family dinner. We are trying to talk about it respectfully. Respectfully? A harsh laugh escaped my lips, bitter and cruel. Respect is a two-way street, Dad. Where was my respect when they laughed at me? Where was your respect when you ignored the truth? I'm not ignoring the truth, he shot back, and I could see a flicker of anger flash in his dark eyes. I just think we need to move forward, honey. You always say that. You think sweeping it under the rug makes it go away? It does. It festers and it becomes dangerous. Just like this tension right here at this table. I was shaking now, the adrenaline pumping through my veins. It's all so fake. It feels fake, even the food, the family time, and everything. I gestured wildly at the beautifully set table. The china plates shimmered under the candlelight, and my mother had painstakingly arranged the silverware. Is it all just an act? I was out of breath, every nerve in my body betraying me as the words tumbled out. You don't care about what's real? Silence engulfed us, thick enough to choke on. My father's face had hardened, his jaw clenched, and I could see him visibly struggling to maintain his composure, while my mother's lips trembled ever so slightly, as though the weight of my words was finally sinking in. I felt a deep sorrow sink in, swirling with my fury clawing at my insides. How do you even know what I feel? I continued, my voice dropping to a low whisper. How could you even understand? You're right, my father replied quietly, his voice strained. I can't understand. But I want to, Maya. It's too late for that, I replied, my heart clenching painfully, the satisfaction from the argument fading to despair. I disappointed myself, I wanted them to care, but all I felt was the insidious pang of isolation once more. Nothing I say or do will change anything, we're just falling apart. Maya, my mother said softly, we're all here together, just talk to us. We don't want to fall apart, we want you to be okay. But I'm not okay. I shot back, tears finally spilling over. I could feel the heat on my cheeks as I wiped my eyes, frustration boiling within me. I felt so lost, so alone. I want Brianna to feel my pain. I want her to understand the hurt she has caused. I want justice, not empathy. I wished for something to change, something to shake the very foundation beneath us. My desperation clawed at my throat. Justice is not something you can force, my father said, his voice steady, almost weary. It will only trap you. Don't want to be trapped, I want to fight back, I cried out, but the fight seemed to dissipate into the air. I felt exhausted, every muscle in my body weighed down by the reality of my words. It doesn't have to be like this. My father stepped in again, looking both powerful and vulnerable in that moment. The table felt insignificant compared to the rift that had grown between us, and I felt the urge to flee grow stronger. You still have the choice to forgive. It can free you. Forgive, Brie. I shook my head, the weight of it all threatening to crush me. I do not want to forgive, I need revenge. The word lingered in the air like smoke, wrapping around us, thickening the atmosphere. I could sense the disappointment in my father's eyes. They were full of concern, love, but also fear. He feared for me and for what this path could lead to. Maya, revenge will not heal your wounds. It will only give you new ones, he warned gently, but there was a hardness to his tone now that surprised me. It will not take away the past, and it won't change who you are. I closed my eyes, my breath coming faster now, feeling the suffocating weight of expectation squeezing my heart. But it will give me power, I insisted weakly, though I could feel the hesitance creep in. I desperately wanted him to see that anger as a strength, but the truth hung heavy. Could I really go through with all of this? Would it truly make me feel better? My mother reached across the table, her fingers brushing against mine lightly. Maya, there is power in healing too. In moving on? Healing? I echoed, my voice shaky. How can I heal when they still see me as the joke? I refuse to be weak. I want them to remember me differently. But at what cost? My father countered, his voice thick with emotion. You are not defined by Brianna's betrayal. You are defined by how you respond to it. The room fell silent again, save for the dying flicker of the candle that lit the table. I stared into the flames, its flickering light haunting my thoughts, illuminating the shadows of my fears. Revenge started to seem like a dark specter looming ahead, but I needed it. I needed something, something to counter the pain. I want her to know my pain, Dad. Can't you understand? I felt hollow, lost between despair and resolve. You think revenge will do that? You must think carefully, come tomorrow, what you want your life to be. I looked back up at them, searching for some sort of understanding, but the disappointment and concern etched on my father's face told me the truth I feared. I just want them to remember, I whispered, feeling a wave of vulnerability wash over me. Even as I said it, I knew revenge was not just about Brianna. It was about them too, for not seeing me, for feeling like a ghost haunting my own life. A dark giggle bubbled up in my throat, unexpected and out of place. Maybe you can fight back with kindness. My father's brow twitched, but it was my mother who looked at me earnestly. Kindness is also power, Maya. I rolled my eyes, feeling the familiar frustration rise again. Kindness? Was I supposed to hug Brianna? Or write her a heartwarming note? The point of revenge was to make her feel small and weak, just like I did in front of everyone else. But as my parents continued to stare at me with those concerned eyes, the weight of the world suddenly felt unbearable. I could feel them hoping for a glimmer of the old Maya, the version they had raised, but all that was left was this raging storm. I leaned back in my chair, all the fight drained out of me along with the satisfaction of at least getting them to acknowledge my pain. I felt small and weak despite my roaring heart. Maybe you are right, maybe I'll just let it pass. My voice was soft now, deflated like a balloon losing its air. Maybe I'll just feel the hurt on my own. My father nodded slowly. That's a start, Maya. Remember, whatever you choose, we are here with you. The words barely reached me as I continued to fight against my raging thoughts. Thank you, I mumbled, though I could not bring myself to look them in the eye. As the meal continued, I picked at my food, but it tasted bland and uninviting, each bite a reminder of the unresolved feelings still swirling within me. I yearned for resolution, for comfort, but felt only the cold grip of loss trailing behind me with every passing moment. Each swallow of the dried chicken lodged in my throat, heavy and resistant. My parents were talking now, trying their best to diffuse the tension, but I could not focus on their words. My thoughts were consumed by Brianna, by what came next. The planning of my revenge began to slip away from me, unraveling like threads of hope. That night, as I lay restless in bed, I replayed everything again and again, whispering the dialogues in my head, trying to conjure the strength. I thought of Brianna's laugh, that mocking laugh that had felt like daggers. Would I be able to face her? Could I really make her understand? I clenched my fists, the bed sheets beneath me twisted in my grip, as my mind filled with images of revenge. I could still touch that power, smell it lingering in the air. A late summer storm cracked outside, and thunder rumbled overhead, sending shadows dancing across my walls, my heart thrumming in time with the lightning that lit my room like a spotlight. I closed my eyes tightly, dreaming of shadows that morphed into triumph, but deep down, the truth escaped. Revenge might taste sweet, but it would carve wounds, leaving scars I could not ignore. The chill of the autumn air wrapped itself around me like a familiar blanket as I stepped outside my front door. The leaves crunching underfoot, crisp and golden, remnants of sunny days now slipping into memory. My chest felt heavy, a tremor of uncertainty fluttering beneath the surface as I headed toward the park where our plan would unfold. The confrontation I was about to face loomed over me, both thrilling and terrifying. I had spent countless nights plotting Jessica's downfall. It was time to see it through. It wasn't just about revenge anymore, it was about reclaiming the pieces of myself she had chipped away. When I reached the park, I noticed the small lake shimmering in the afternoon sun, like shards of glass radiating heat that barely reached me. That's when I saw them. Jessica and her crew, laughing and tossing a frisbee back and forth, totally oblivious to the storm brewing just a few feet away. I squinted against the bright sunlight, trying to calm my fluttering nerves. I took a moment to collect myself. The cool air filled me with a sense of purpose, as if it validated the vengeance I was about to unleash. Taking a deep breath, I stepped further into the park, each step feeling heavier than the last. My heart drummed a chaotic rhythm in my chest as I crossed the grassy knoll towards them. Jessica's laugh pierced the air, a melodic sound that had once sounded sweet but now tasted bitter on my tongue. I felt a surge of anger boiling just beneath my skin. I spotted Emma sitting beside Jessica, her head thrown back with laughter. Emma was innocent in this. She had never wronged me like Jessica had, and a pang of hesitation surged through me. Maya, Jessica called out when she noticed me approaching, her voice dripping with mock sweetness. What a surprise. She tossed the frisbee into the air, catching it as it came back down, her confidence radiating like the autumn sun. Cut the act, Jess, I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. I know what you did. The laughter died instantly, replaced by a silence so thick I could almost see it settling between us. Jessica's eyes narrowed, and I could see the gears turning in her mind, calculating her next move. What do you mean? She shot back, but I could hear the slightest tremor in her tone, proving she wasn't as confident as she pretended. You know exactly what I am talking about. The gossip, the rumors. You thought I wouldn't find out? You thought I'd just let it go. My voice was rising with every word, fueled by weeks of torment and humiliation. She stood up straighter, her bravado flickering for a moment. So, you're going to confront me about how you stole my spotlight? You can't handle a little competition, can you? That hit harder than I expected. The pain of her words cut deep, slicing through my carefully erected defenses. I had promised myself that this wasn't about insecurities, but even now, the remnants of my old self threatened to seep through. Do you really think I would steal anything from you? I shot back, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. You know what you did to me. You made my life a living hell. I was just a pawn in your game. Perhaps you should have played better, she retorted, flipping her hair over her shoulder dismissively. There was an edge to her voice, a challenge that reignited the fire within me. For a moment, I felt that familiar surge of rage, but this time I harnessed it, turning it into focus. This isn't just a game for me, Jessica. I'm done being your punching bag. I'm standing up for myself today. Standing up, is that what you think you are doing right now? She challenged, but I saw a flicker of doubt cross her face, and I knew I had her on the ropes. I stepped closer, the space between us shrinking with every sentence. I came here to make it clear that I refuse to be your victim anymore. You might rule this school with fear, but that ends today. You think people respect you. They fear you, and that is different. Jessica tensed, the bravado wavering as she glanced at her friends. Emma looked torn, conflicted, and for a split second I felt a surge of pity for her. She had been a friend to Jessica, but she had never actively participated in the bullying. Leave her out of this, Maya. This is just between you and me, Emma piped up, her voice trembling slightly. Do you know why it's so easy for her to treat me like this? Because you're all too willing to allow it. You laugh at my expense, Emma. You don't even see the hurt when you do. Emma's features hardened, but the flicker of understanding ignited in her eyes. I could see the wheels turning in her mind, and for a moment I let my guard down, allowing her a glimpse of the pain I had carried. You think it's easy to be friends with her, that it's easy to support what she does? Stop making excuses for her, I interrupted, my heart racing as I pressed forward. If you want to keep being a part of this, then you're just as much to blame. Jessica's frustration spilled over into anger, her face flushed. You're being melodramatic, Maya. No one even cares. Oh, is that right? Then why are you so threatened by me standing here? Why do you feel the need to belittle and undermine me? I watched her swallow hard, the bravado evaporating into thin air. The awkward silence hung in the autumn air, heavy like the clouds that threatened rain. My chest was tight, fear creeping in. Was I doing the right thing? I had practiced this moment in my head so many times that the reality felt surreal, but each passing second fueled my resolve even more. Maybe I should have kept my mouth shut, I mumbled under my breath, not entirely sure if I meant it. What was that? Jessica asked, her tone now sharper than before. I'm tired of playing nice. You're not scaring me, she tried, but I could see the uncertainty in her eyes. I'm not trying to scare you, Jessica. Trust me, I answered, voice steady. When I say I'm tired, what I mean is that I've already figured out how I'm going to end this. What do you mean by that? Her eyes narrowed again, stark confusion mingling with fear. That little secret you thought would stay hidden, the one about you cheating on that math test last spring, the one that your precious reputation hinges on? For a moment, I felt like a lion discovering the vulnerability of its prey. I had stumbled upon her weakness, and I was ready to strike. You wouldn't dare, Jessica hissed, but fear danced across her features now. Oh, I absolutely would. I have the proof, Jess. Just imagine what would happen if those grades of yours suddenly came under scrutiny. The academic probation. Your precious cheerleading captain title probably wouldn't withstand the scrutiny. The once confident facade fell apart as I watched a single bead of sweat trickle down her temple. A wave of satisfaction rushed through me, but I quickly steeled myself, remembering my purpose for being here. Why are you doing this? She finally whispered, the cockiness absent from her voice, replaced by something resembling desperation. Because I deserve to be heard. I spent too long silenced by you and your friends, and I refuse to be invisible any longer, I replied, fighting to keep the tremor of my own fear from infiltrating my voice. Then Emma stepped forward, her expression shifting from anger to pained confusion. Maya, is this true? I met her gaze, feeling a deep ache in my chest. It doesn't matter. What matters is how you choose to support this. Is this what you want to do with your life? Go around causing chaos? She asked, genuine concern etched on her face. This isn't chaos, Emma. This is me taking control. This is me standing up after being knocked down too many times. Jessica shot Emma a look, something silent passing between them. You will regret this, Maya. You think this is winning? You are just setting yourself up for more pain. I stood my ground, resolute. I'd rather hurt in the truth than feel safe in your lies. The two girls exchanged glances again, and within that moment I wondered if perhaps, just maybe, Emma might choose me this time. It was a long shot, but a part of me felt hopeful. Maybe I shouldn't have stood by and watched you hurt her, Jessica, Emma said quietly, a tone of uncertainty creeping into her voice. Maybe we've all been too scared to speak up. A silence enveloped us again, replacing the tension with something almost fragile as it shimmered in the air. No, 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 Jessica blurted out, her voice cracking slightly, desperation pulling at the corners of her bravado. You're not really going to believe her, are you? She's just making this up to hurt me. I'm not making anything up, I rebutted, feeling the adrenaline surge through me, my heart racing wildly, the stakes higher than I had ever imagined. Why didn't you say anything, either of you? I pressed on, staring at Emma, watching as the gears slowly turned behind her wide eyes. I thought it was just how things were, Emma stammered, her voice trembling. But Maya, I'm not okay with this. It felt empowering to see her grappling with the wrong she had ignored for so long. Jessica, on the other hand, was losing more ground with each passing second. I could see the fight leaving her, the rage shifting into something like dread. Jessica, you have to understand, you have the chance to change this. To make things right, Emma's voice wavered, almost pleading. I seized the moment. Will you drop this facade, Jess? You don't have to play the queen anymore if it means hurting others. Just admit it. Realization flickered across her face, rage draped in fear. What if I do? Then I will deal with the consequences alone, I said firmly, the undertone clear. You would face the fallout regardless. I hate you, Maya, she spat, venom lacing every word, but even the venom felt weak. Good, because I'm done letting you define how I feel about myself. You can yell, scream, and slap my name in the dirt, but I'll still be here, taking a step forward while you choose to hide. With that, I turned on my heel, ready to walk away. Real freedom was just around the corner, a promise of new beginnings glimmering ahead. Emma called out after me, Wait, you're leaving just like that? I paused, just a single heartbeat. Yes, Emma, I am leaving, but this is just the start. I'm not going to run from Jessica or anyone else anymore. And as I strode away, I felt lighter, the setting sun casting a golden glow around me. I could feel the weight of their gazes, once judgmental, now a mix of realization and regret. But it didn't matter. I had taken back my power today, and in the process, I found a piece of me that I thought was long gone. The whispers of change danced through the leaves, and I could hear the beginnings of my own story waiting patiently in the distance.